Okay, let's just get one thing straight right off the bat. We don't really have a climate problem. Not fundamentally. We have a comfort problem.
That's a blunt way to put it, but yeah.
Yeah,
It cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it?
it does. Because, think about it, everyone's buzzing about solar panels, EVs, carbon credits,
Yeah.
the whole eco-chic starter pack.
The things that let us feel like we're doing something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the really uncomfortable truth, the one nobody wants, like tattooed on their forehead. We are completely hooked on ease, mainlining it.
Hooked on speed, convenience, 2-day shipping, instant streaming, houses cooled to Arctic levels in August.
Yes, all of it. And these so-called solutions, let's be honest, most of them are designed to keep that comfort train chugging along, maybe on slightly greener tracks, but definitely not derailing it.
Which is kind of the point of this deep dive, isn't it? We're not here to whisper sweet nothings about saving the polar bears while we order takeout for the third night running.
Nope. We're grabbing the scalpel. We want to dissect this whole comfort addiction thing with, truth, science, and maybe a little bit of dark humor so we don't just end up crying into our organic cotton pillows. Let's dive in.
Okay, so you nailed that opening. The standard story, the one we're constantly sold, is that climate change is, well, it's a tech problem, a policy puzzle.
Right. Just need better gadgets, smarter laws.
Yeah. Plug in cleaner energy, pass the right legislation, and boom, Silicon Valley invents us as a sustainable utopia. And look, there's some truth there. Obviously, technology and policy matter, but...
But it's like saying a compound fracture just needs a Band-Aid. It completely misses the underlying issue.
Precisely. You can't fix a deep systemic problem if you ignore the, let's call it the cultural operating system that's running the whole show. And that OS, like you said, is comfort.
Our entire civilization, go back centuries, the wheel, the printing press, right up to same-day delivery, it's been this relentless quest to eliminate friction, banish effort, speed up gratification.
And we've gotten incredibly good at it. So good, in fact, that we now seem genuinely surprised that this relentless drive is, well, hitting a wall, a planetary wall.
Okay, so let's try to unpack this layer by layer, starting with what we're calling cognitive clarity.
Layer 1, cognitive clarity. And the big question here, the real gut check question is, what is actually true?
Yeah, not what I wish were true or what my curated social media feed insists is true, but what's actually factually, scientifically true.
And when you really dig into the data, stripped of the spin, the picture that emerges is pretty stark. Climate change isn't just some unfortunate byproduct of burning fuel.
No, it's a symptom of hyperconsumption. Rampant hyperconsumption.
Fossil fuels didn't just power factories, did they? They turbocharged an entire lifestyle.
Oh, totally. Fast food, fast fashion, fast travel, fast dopamine hits from our screens, global supply chains bringing us strawberries in winter, all built on cheap energy.
And maintaining a global thermostat perpetually set to pleasant, regardless of the season or location.
Right. And now it feels like we're desperately trying to keep this exact same high-octane lifestyle going just by swapping out the fuel source. Like putting premium organic kale smoothie mix into a monster truck engine and calling it green.
It's this embedded assumption, isn't it, that we can just perform this massive energy swap without fundamentally changing our behaviors, our appetite.
We're trying to decouple the consequences from the lifestyle that caused them.
Yeah.
Specifically, our addiction to ease, speed, feeling constantly comfortable and in control.
Let's step back. Basic physics, right? Climate change is a physical thing. More CO2 traps, more heat. Simple. What puts the CO2 there?
Us. Burning stuff, mostly fossil fuels.
And why did fossil fuels become dominant? Not just availability. It was because they delivered this insane level of comfort, power, convenience, productivity.
Productivity. That's key too, isn't it? It's not just leisure comfort. It's this relentless drive for more output, more efficiency, faster results, which also demands massive energy.
And we've gotten so used to it, so deeply accustomed to this hyper-efficient, hyper-comfortable world, that the underlying truth feels almost forbidden to say out loud.
Which is,
we don't really want to stop burning carbon, or at least stop the activities that burn carbon. We just want to stop feeling guilty about it.
Oof. Yeah. That hits hard. Most of the solutions on the table seem meticulously designed to preserve current comfort levels.
Keep the 247 hot showers, the next day delivery on that gadget you'll use twice, the cheap flights, the meat-centric diet, the big houses, the personal cars, just, green versions.
It's not a fundamental shift. It's, what do one source call it, green denial.
Green denial, a comforting illusion that lets us avoid the real reckoning, which inevitably brings us to the next layer, layer 2, Moral intelligence.
Okay, moral intelligence. So the question shifts here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It becomes, what is the right thing to do?
Exactly. Here, now, for everyone affected, not just for those of us lucky enough to be sitting atop the pyramid of peak comfort right now.
Let's get into the ethical weeds here. Climate justice. It's not just about CO2 emissions per capita, is it?
Not even close. It's fundamentally about who suffers for whose convenience.
Right. So you feel good driving your shiny new EV,
Hmm.
but where did that lithium in the battery come from?
Probably from a mine somewhere, causing huge environmental damage, maybe displacing people, often involving exploitative labor, costs someone else pays,
Or you post your organic avocado toast feeling virtuous.
while ignoring the water wars brewing in the regions growing those avocados, or the deforestation driven by the demand for feed for the cattle that became your burger last night, all feeding Western consumption patterns.
It's this concept, this really insidious idea of moral outsourcing that just, it sticks in your craw.
It does, because so many solutions championed in wealthier nations are basically just elaborate schemes to maintain their comfort levels.
While pushing the dirty work, the environmental damage, the social disruption onto poorer, less powerful places.
It's not really about solving climate change for everyone. It's often about engineering a way for our high-consumption lifestyle to continue undisturbed.
So every time we design climate policy that implicitly or even explicitly prioritizes preserving current Western consumption levels.
We're making a choice, a deeply moral choice. We're saying someone else's well-being, or the well-being of future generations, is frankly less important than our immediate convenience. It's an ethical trade-off, and we rarely acknowledge it so bluntly.
And that trade-off, that systemic consequence, leads us directly into layer 3, systemic foresight.
Right. Systemic foresight. The question now becomes, okay, what happens next? And crucially, to whom? Not just the immediate effect, but the ripple effects, the downstream consequences.
If we're serious about this, we have to think in systems, right? Interconnected webs, feedback loops.
Absolutely. Take EVs again. Okay, fewer tailpipe emissions in London or LA. Great. But what about the explosion in demand for lithium, cobalt, nickel?
Massive increase in mining, often in fragile ecosystems. Huge water use, energy needed for extraction and processing, then battery manufacturing, grid strain for charging, disposal.
The emissions haven't vanished. They've just been shifted, moved around the system, maybe reduced overall, maybe not as much as we think, but definitely shifted.
One source put it really starkly. It said, we're basically just optimizing collapse, making tiny tweaks to feel better while the fundamental unsustainability just rolls on.
It's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, isn't it? We focus on these visible immediate changes, the EV, the solar panel, but ignore the deeper systemic drivers.
Exactly. Every solution that lets us keep the long commutes, the frequent flights, the endless river of cheap stuff flowing, it's just kicking the can, delaying the inevitable reckoning.
We get seduced by the shiny new tech, but we fail to account for the Jevons paradox or the rebound effect. Making something more efficient often just leads us to use more of it overall.
Yeah, like fuel-efficient cars leading to people driving more miles, or energy-saving light bulbs, meaning we leave lights on longer or install more of them.
And we consistently fail to properly factor in these crucial feedback loops. Things like, well, climate migration. As places become uninhabitable, people move. That causes social stress, political instability.
Which then makes coordinated climate action even harder. Or biodiversity loss, losing forests, damaging oceans, weakens the planet's ability to soak up carbon, making the problem worse.
And don't forget the mental health angle. Widespread eco-anxiety is real. And ironically, how do people often cope with anxiety?
Consumption, distraction, escapism, more screen time, more shopping.
Exactly, which just fuels the fire. We treat climate change like this isolated technical glitch needing a patch update.
But it's more like a fundamental flaw in the entire operating system. It demands a complete rethink.
Which brings us uncomfortably close to home with layer 4, embodied awareness.
Okay, embodied awareness. This is where it gets personal, right? The question is, what am I as a human animal actually wired for? And how does that ancient wiring mess with my decisions about something as abstract as climate change?
Let's be brutally honest. You, me, everyone listening. We didn't evolve to deal well with slow-motion, abstract, global threats where the solution involves immediate personal inconvenience.
We evolved for short-term survival. Seek pleasure, avoid pain, find food now, escape the predator now. Conserve energy whenever possible.
Our ancestors burned serious calories just finding their next meal or staying warm. Now, we can summon almost anything with a click. Comfort is the default. Effort is weirdly suspect.
Our brains literally interpret effort, friction, discomfort as things to be minimized, potential threats almost.
And fossil fuels, well, they were the ultimate cheat code for that ancient wiring, weren't they? Yeah. Seemingly limitless energy delivering warmth, speed, light, calorie-dense food, effortless travel.
Neuroscience backs this up, right?
Mm.
Temporal discounting. We value immediate rewards way more than future ones and discount future risks.
Hugely. And just feeling tired or stressed or anxious, which climate change certainly makes us feel, triggers our basic threat response. We seek soothing.
The infinite scroll, the comfort food, the impulse buy.
And the sheer overwhelm of the climate crisis itself can paradoxically lead to paralysis, avoidance, shutting down, not engaging.
So when someone suggests, maybe turn your thermostat down or try taking the bus, our nervous system doesn't just go, okay, logical. It often sends out a little alarm signal.
Discomfort, danger, even mild inconvenience, it's registered physically.
And that's why deep behavioral change is so damn hard. We're not just fighting oil companies, we're fighting our own biology, our nervous system.
It's become tied to our identity too, hasn't it? Suggesting someone consume less can feel like you're attacking them, their lifestyle, their status, their sense of self.
It's not just logic, it's visceral, it's emotional, it's an addiction to comfort.
Which flows perfectly into layer 5. Human design and culture.
Okay, layer 5, human design and culture. So given all that biological wiring in our cultural norms, the key question is, how do real people actually behave? Not how we wish they'd behave or how rational models say they should behave.
And this is where so much climate policy and advocacy falls flat, I think. There's this persistent, almost naive assumption that if you just give people the facts, the scary charts,
they'll logically change their ways.
Right.
As if.
Decades of behavioral science, behavioral economics, psychology tell us, nope. Humans are driven by incentive, yes, but also powerfully by social norms. What feels normal, what confers status, what feels emotionally safe, and what aligns with our identity. Logic often takes a backseat.
Think about it. Someone will happily pay like a 50% premium for an eco-friendly cleaning spray because it signals virtue, makes them feel good.
But that same person might not blink at booking a long-haul flight for a holiday or upgrading to a bigger car because that's what feels normal or aspirational within their social context.
The whole eco-conscious narrative has been brilliantly co-opted, hasn't it? It's become another form of status signaling within the high-consumption paradigm.
Exactly. It allows us to feel green without fundamentally challenging the consumption itself. As one source put it, it's often about performing greenness, not achieving it.
Which leads to what you called comfort theater.
Comfort theater, perfect term. Like sticking solar panels on a sprawling, energy-guzzling McMansion. It looks good, signals intent, but doesn't address the underlying scale of consumption. It prioritizes optics over impact.
Meanwhile, genuine sustainability, actually using less, repairing things, embracing simplicity, is still often framed as, well, sacrifice, deprivation. It's not cool. It's not aspirational. It's not seamlessly integrated into the mainstream good life narrative.
Not yet, anyway. And until climate action aligns with how humans actually make decisions, tapping into social norms, making it feel easy, safe, even desirable, it's going to struggle to become a mass movement. It'll stay niche.
Okay, so if our tech hopes are maybe overblown and humans are wired for comfort and resist change, that brings us to a pretty sobering place. Layer 6. Risk and resilience thinking.
Yeah, this is the what-if layer, the really blunt question. What if we're wrong? What if our assumptions about tech breakthroughs or global cooperation or the planet's resilience are just plain wrong? Or what if we're simply too late for those fixes to work in time?
What if the renewable rollout isn't fast enough? What if carbon capture remains marginal? What if geoengineering backfires spectacularly? Then what?
Then we are left staring at the incredible fragility of our current systems. Brittle supply chains stretching across the globe, widespread mental health crises, cities utterly dependent on constant air conditioning, cheap credit, just-in-time deliveries.
We're essentially designing for the best-case scenario, aren't we? Assuming everything works out.
We are, but true resilience, the kind that prepares you for shocks and uncertainty, demands something different. It requires, as the sources stress, learning to live better with less.
Living better with less, that sounds countercultural.
Deeply countercultural. It means building lives, communities, economies that don't completely fall apart when the inevitable disruptions hit, when the comfort level drops.
And the data isn't exactly reassuring on our current trajectory, is it? You mentioned some stats earlier.
Yeah, pretty stark stuff. The UN estimates only about 4% of global emissions cuts so far come from actual behavior change. It's almost all fuel switching or efficiency gains within the existing consumption model.
Only 4%. Wow. And the Potsdam study?
Looked at 1,500 climate policies globally, found only 63, about 4% again. Coincidentally, that had actually led to significant measurable CO2 reductions.
Yeah.
Lots of policies, very little real impact on emissions.
And the money.
Still flowing the wrong way, largely.
Yep.
IMF data from just last year showed fossil fuel subsidies still dwarfing global spending on green infrastructure. We're subsidizing the problem more than the solution.
So relying solely on tech and policy while ignoring behavior and consumption, it feels like a massive gamble. Based on those numbers, maybe a losing gamble.
Which means real resilience, the kind that can handle things going wrong, has to involve lowering our baseline expectations of comfort, building capacity to thrive with less energy, less stuff, less globalized dependency.
More local food, passive building design, repair cafes, shorter supply chains, decentralized energy.
Things that make us less vulnerable when the global comfort machine sputters. But again, that requires embracing, or at least tolerating, a level of discomfort our culture tells us is failure.
Okay, deep breath. This all leads, finally, inexorably, to layer 7, execution.
The sharp end. So what the hell do we actually DO now? Layer.
Given everything we've just unpacked, what's the move?
Well, the first thing, maybe the hardest thing, is to recognize this isn't just a blueprint moment. We can't just wait for the perfect plan. It's a courage moment. It demands action now at all levels, even without certainty.
Starting with ourselves, the personal stuff.
Absolutely. It has to start there, partly. Actively, consciously cultivate discomfort tolerance. Like, actually practice it. Walk or bike when you could drive. Eat simpler meals. Turn the heating down or the AC off sometimes. Buy less stuff. Mend things.
Treat discomfort not as the enemy, but as, like, resilience training, a muscle to build.
Exactly. Stop chasing the phantom of sustainable consumption and just focus on less consumption, period.
But individual action isn't enough, right? We know that narratives can be a trap, too.
Totally. It has to be coupled with collective and systemic change. Support local systems, food, energy, making that reduce reliance on those fragile global chains, build community resilience.
And demand different policies. Policies that don't just nudge carbon intensity, but actually target unsustainable behaviors and consumption levels.
Yes. We have to get bolder in what we ask for. And critically, we need to stop letting billionaires and corporations define what sustainability means. Their version usually involves selling us more green stuff, not fundamentally changing the game.
Because if you genuinely think we solve this without any personal inconvenience, without challenging our comfort addiction, you're just not looking at the reality of the situation. You're in denial.
We need that fundamental redefinition of the good life. Better needs to start meaning less in many contexts. Less energy, less material throughput, less waste.
We need to make dignified restraint a virtue again. Not deprivation, but conscious, chosen simplicity and sufficiency.
And design for it. Design our homes, our communities, our lives to build that discomfort tolerance, that resilience. Create microenvironments, neighborhoods, workplaces, social groups where lower consumption living is the norm, not the weird exception.
And shift the rewards, right? Systemically reward actions that genuinely cut emissions and resource use, not just the ones that look good or feel good temporarily.
Yeah.
Measure the impacts.
Measure the impact, exactly. Move beyond the comfort theater.
Okay. So, bring this all home. The bottom line is, tech alone won't save us. Policy tweaks within the current comfort-obsessed system won't save us.
We can't engineer our way out of an addiction while clinging desperately to the very substance in this case, effortless comfort that fuels it.
This isn't just carbon molecules. It's culture. It's behavior. It's this collective comfort cult we're trapped in.
Climate change, viewed this way, it's like a giant, terrifying mirror reflecting our own deepest desires back at us. Our desire for ease, for control, for more, at almost any cost.
We say we want a livable planet, but the subtext is often, quote, as long as I don't have to change my lifestyle too much.
And that paradox, that deep contradiction between our stated goals and our actual behavior, driven by this comfort addiction, that's the core of the problem. That's what needs to shift.
Otherwise, the consequences will just keep escalating, unless we evolve consciously.
Yeah. This deep dive, it's maybe less about offering hope and more about offering clarity. Uncomfortable clarity.
Because the reason most mainstream solutions avoid this core issue, our comfort addiction, is precisely because it's uncomfortable. It's politically difficult. It messes with the economic status quo.
But until we face it head on, until we look in that mirror honestly, Well, everything else risks being just tinkering around the edges. A band-aid on a deep, deep wound.
This isn't just about the atmosphere. It's about us, who we are, and maybe, more importantly, who we're willing to become.
Heavy stuff, but necessary, I think.
Definitely necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the deep dive. Look, we're not here to hand out easy answers or false optimism, just clarity, even the kind that might make you want to hide under the duvet.
If it felt uncomfortable listening, maybe take that as a good sign, a sign you're still awake, still grappling with it.
Yeah, good. Next time. We're wading into different but equally murky waters. Why most self-help is just ego dressed as enlightenment? Should be fun.
Oh, can't wait for that one.
So yeah, hit follow, hit share if you know someone who needs this dose of reality.
Yeah.
Or, maybe just go take that cold shower, start training the nervous system, stay sharp, stay real, and yeah, stay a little bit uncomfortable.
Stay uncomfortable. Good advice.